So guys, super quick, and for the people that are already on this, you can ignore this message, but this is for the new Jam Session members, so welcome, who have not yet had the experience of a monthly coaching call. So we're excited for you to experience this too. On the first Thursday of every single month, you're going to get the opportunity to grow just like these contractors are on this monthly coaching call. So welcome. Listen to this monthly call entirely. Listen to it through. Enjoy the banter back and forth and the growth that comes along with it. So Josh, let's kick it off. I think we should wait another few minutes and get people in. We have TJ, we have Cameron, Ed.
Yep, we'll give a few minutes. We're early.
I'm the gatekeeper, so if I see any lunatics, I just mightn't let them in.
They're all lunatics.
That's true. They all have a bit of
They all are. Yeah. Don't be judging against lunatics. That's kind of like our specialty.
Yeah, I you know what, I have
keep the normies out.
Yeah. What? You're like well balanced person and not crazy? You don't need to be hanging out with us. Yeah, we'll give it a few minutes.
I hope people haven't got mixed up with time.
Oh, because the time change?
Because the time change, yeah.
It's entirely possible.
Although I've had a few people, I had especially Stephanie and Kevin both wrote to me and being like, thank you for letting us, thank you for filling us in on the time change. So.
Yet Stephanie and Kevin aren't here.
Oh, here we go. We have Michael.
Guys, if you want to, I'd love if you shared your. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Share your video. He can't hear us yet. Hey, Michael.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing good. We were just having a meeting talking about you guys.
Good to see you here. All good.
Creepy.
All good stuff, I hope.
Yes.
Or how we've just discovered that apparently you've got to have a little element of weird in you to be in this group. I think that's a Josh qualification. So
yeah, we're all kind of weird.
Okay, cool.
We got a weird family.
Then welcome.
We're close though. We're a close family. We're weird.
It's your sister that has the real whose daughter's in Ireland, right?
In Dallas.
Oh, in Dallas, gotcha.
Yeah, no, my sister lives in Dallas. Yeah, she has a daughter she's got younger kids. She's got a high school daughter and then an elementary school daughter.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She goes to school there in Dallas, a school called Green. Are you familiar with Dallas?
Am I familiar with Dallas? You know what? I can't say I've been there because I've just been to the airport, so I don't think that counts.
No, and you're thinking of HC.
Yeah, no.
By the way, love.
Oh,
they're the one who has
too many clients coming on at once. Stephanie, hey, good to see you. Brett, good to see you too.
Good to see your cabinets, Brett.
Yeah, Brett.
Good to see you guys too.
Hey.
Just getting coffee.
Oh, that's important.
Looks like he's on the road.
I am up in Prescott in a camper right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They're such explorers. I love it.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay.
Is your lovely wife joining us?
Better late than never, I'm sure.
We have Doug coming. Stephanie, is Kevin joining, or are you?
Yeah, he's right here. He's just not in frame.
Oh, hey, Kevin, I like you.
Just get the one creepy hand pop out of the side.
That'll do.
Could have been two.
There we go. Hey, Doug.
I think it's Pete, actually, probably.
Is it?
I'm drinking cold coffee in my microwave and my camper's broken. What the heck?
What the heck? Once it serves its purpose. Is it Pete or Doug we have on?
It's Doug. Pete's,
hey, Doug.
Pete's in the same room here too. So,
gotcha.
Hi guys.
Gotcha.
How's it going?
Good.
Speaking of coffee, Brett, Pete likes to run off Monster. Isn't that right, Pete? That's your fuel of the day.
Pete, I'm logging in on the computer right now.
You're good. You're good. I'm loving your bandana, Stephanie.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Thanks. I chose the Peloton this morning over a full Get Ready, so headband it is.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I was all about this, like totally quickly throwing myself together and getting ready, and you could pull it off. But I tell you what, I listened to our most recent podcast and I looked at the clip and I was like, oh, Laura, you got to go get your eyelashes done. You got to start putting more effort into yourself before you show up on these.
Where are you?
Okay.
I'm just a client.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what I look like.
Gotcha.
No, you pull it off. I'm just
Okay.
not sure I pull off this au naturel as well as I thought I did.
We have another special guest, our newest team member, by the way, all the way from Ireland. Say
Hi,
hi.
We
guys.
do. Tracy, she's my sister. She could attest to me freaking out when I saw this first podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's actually in my hometown in Kinsale, so she's working some weird hours, but it's cool to
What time is it over there?
5 o'clock
5 p.m. or a.m.?
p.m.
p.m. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So you're on coffee time. She's almost on vino time, Brett.
That's exactly right. Well, you never know. We could make a quick switch.
There you go. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Right.
Okay, we have Linda. Welcome, Linda. Good to have you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, we'll wait for Pete to connect his audio, even though he's hearing from Doug, and then we'll probably get going. I don't know how many more people were expecting this. This is about it, correct?
We had a few more people. We've Ken coming. TJ Ken's joining us, right?
Ken's right here, actually.
Oh, well, hello, Ken. I missed your call yesterday, but Josh spoke to you, I hear.
Yep. I got the pleasure of talking to Josh, and I get to see you, so it's a win-win.
There we
A
go.
pleasure.
Thank you. I was
Pleasure. He's trying to
disappointed.
butter
that
me
I-
up.
He's buttering me up.
Yeah.
Buttering me up for sure. Who else? There's oh, we have David Lewis that's supposed to be joining.
Well, if
That's
he
okay.
joins late, just watch the board. Let's go ahead and get going. It's a couple after, so. All right, you guys know the routine. We've been doing this a few months now. Someone has a feedback there. I don't know. Okay, it's gone. I have something planned for this and just kind of walk through budgeting and how to set yourself up for next year and pick some numbers. I think it's super relative to this time of year, of course. But I always want to start with what are you guys having issues with? Any problems you're running into that we can kind of tackle as a team? Everybody on the call here is all experienced contractors, obviously. Anybody got anything they want to bring up?
We'll let Linda take this one for us.
Well, no, what are your concerns? I mean, are you in the front end? Are you talking about field issues? Or are you talking about back end?
Anything.
Yeah. I mean, we're here to help, so.
Well, right now we're actually in the process of kind of restructuring the company and getting it ready for next year. So one of the things that we are trying to do is delegate a little bit more, separating ourselves, and giving it more responsibilities to our field supervisor as well as our office manager. So those are some of the things that we're kind of looking into it. Implementing it is the hardest part for us, like how to proceed by it, to introducing it to our employees. Like, for example, one of the things that I really am trying to encourage is the uniform. I've been, going out in the field, and they basically have a t-shirt, even though we are providing them with the uniform. It's kind of that making sure that they are doing it, but yet also basically, approaching it with toothpicks to make sure that we still keep them happy, because now these days it's so hard to hire people, that you don't want to add.
Yeah,
So-
that's like two separate issues. Like, you never want to be held hostage by your technicians. So you always have to be recruiting, and you have to have a system for recruiting.
Right.
And that's a conversation I think we've all had at different levels of different people, but there's ways of doing that effectively, right? That's one. But what I'm hearing from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like you really want to delegate more, but don't necessarily know how to put it out there to start the process.
Correct. Just
Correct.
making sure it's a nice, smooth process for everybody.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
What I
a-
would say is the best way I've found to figure out how you delegate. Laura, what's the book where we're talking about the like future org charts? Do you remember the book? Is it
Future
the 4 Hour
org-
Work Week, or is it
No, org charts is the E-Myth.
yeah, E-Myth? Great
Great
book.
Oh,
Everybody should read
yeah.
that.
It's a
So-
it's a must read for
Yeah, we actually
for
have
business
that
owners.
book. And I
Have it and read it are two different things.
Right. I don't think the binder's been cracked on it yet.
If it's gathering shelf dust, Brett, that's not okay.
So one
maybe
of the things the E-Myth talks about, and I've used this exercise, and we're actually about to go back through this exercise for Clover, and we've done it for Parker, and I've helped other companies do it. One of the biggest problems with delegating is it's really hard to decide like who gets what and how that would work, especially like in the future. Like, hey, we have this new possible position. What exactly should they be doing, right? So an exercise I found really helpful is picking, let's say, you're at 5 million now, at 10 million, what positions do you think you'll need? And you start defining positions. So when I say defining positions, maybe you need a marketing director, maybe you need a head of service, you need a service supervisor, you need a install manager, you need a sales manager, right? And you start defining all these roles. And with no intention of filling them right now, that's not the point to a point. You fill out all these roles, and then you start spelling out what at an ideal world, an ideal situation, when you're at that point, what would that person's job be? A salesperson it's doing ride-alongs, it's driving the sales teams, creating sales structures, incentives, contests, helping the sales recovery team, right? And you define exactly what that sales manager is, as an example, right? But you do that for every position. Now, here's the benefit of doing that. Right now, almost everybody on these calls, like they have to play more than one hat. You have to wear more than one hat, but you essentially just assign yourself those positions. So it's clearly defined what the ideal would be. Does that make sense? Like Brett, right now, you are the service manager. You're also the service supervisor. You get it, right? And so your definitions of what you're supposed to be focused on, the KPIs you have, everything's clearly laid out. So when you want to delegate to other people, now instead of delegating, here's this thing that has to do with accounting, here's this thing that has to do with service, here's the thing that has to do with sales, you start delegating positions.
Okay.
So it becomes really clear cut on what they should be doing, and it's all tied together. And the cool part about this is as you start to grow and expand, you start thinking more futuristic, like this person eventually could be my sales manager. I could see him doing really well at this. I'm more interested in this candidate now. Instead of trying to fill the role that's right now, I'm trying to fill a role I'm really trying to work towards.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And here's the question I have is, like, I have in our company, we have a guy that has been with us for 9 years, right? And so we're trying to promote him from within, and he's going to try to take over my position, basically, like out in the field, watching field jobs and checking in with technicians and installers. He's not good with a computer. He's not good with basically any electronics yet, right? So we actually have been holding training classes for him on basic computer skills, dialing in our software that we use, right? But my other back end question to that, is there a price point that we should be looking at, or a profit point, or a $1 million, $2 million, $3 million where we should start breaking it down even further? Like, for example, right now we have a CSR, we have an accounting lady in the office. What is the price point where you should be adding these extra levels of management?
So that kind of goes a little bit into what we're going to be talking about today, which is really planning and budgeting for next year.
Yeah.
A simple answer is I want to get now some people have, like some people on this call, we won't name names, have incredible, ridiculous, amazing profit margins. Most people, if you're in double digits, you're good. I don't think double digits is very good. I think you really should be 15% or above is what you're aiming for. So if you can afford that support staff and it falls in, you're still above that 15% or there, then it makes sense. And keep that profit margin. It's not good. Now, clearly that has sales goals associated, right? So there's a revenue goal associated with that because you have to get to that certain revenue to be able to afford that person and still stay above 15%. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And as you're smaller, that 15% is a little bit harder to hit. If you're real small, it's fairly easy. But at your size, I'd probably be okay with the 12% for now.
So would you recommend at this point in time, like since we're trying to do this, obviously put more like a general like job description for certain positions and expand from there?
Yeah, that's what I would do. That's exactly
okay.
what I would write up that org chart and pick like a future size or date. And if like an ideal world, what's all the positions you would want, right? And you don't have to define everything.
Right.
But what happens to most people was when they start delegating, they're delegating all over the board, like
right.
You answer phones and you do ride-alongs and you work with the accountant. It's like these three things are not the same person. It's not the same position. And that's where you get yourself in trouble.
Okay.
Josh, I think it's really important, like for Brett to know nobody's going to do it like you.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah,
right? And so maybe that's not his skill set. We've had to divide job responsibilities or bring in a support person to support that growth, right? So maybe the guy that you're bringing in, you need to bring in a part-time admin to do the computer work for him because he excels out in the field, and that gives you the freedom. Like, what's the goal here? So we balance a lot of life balance with profit, back and forth. So it just depends where you are in that cycle. We have 2 young kids. It's really important to us to have some more time.
Right.
So we have more admin because, we just brought in our sales guy who's doing awesome, isn't great at follow-up, doesn't like love the phone and computer work. We brought in somebody, he's sharing his commission with her and they're going to slay it, but we had to think, how are we going to afford it? So we made him split. And what are we going to do to support his deficiencies, right? Because he can't do it all. Let people be masters in what they're really good at.
Right. Okay. And that's kind of like going to that next step. I tried that today for the first time. I've got this gentleman out on a sales call. He's terrible with computers. So he went over the job with me. And it shouldn't be me doing it in the background, but I did. Right. I created the 3 proposals, the 3 comparisons, and he can automatically pull it up on his computer in front of the customer, but he didn't have to touch a keyboard at all. So I guess that's kind of.
Yeah, I automated a lot.
Ideal.
I use Service Fusion. It now creates our contracts for us. They just have certain fields they have to put in, and it's all generated. So it took a lot of back end work that Kevin used to do when he was in the field, but it freed us up.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's certainly not ideal. You want a salesperson that can put together a proposal. But if I had to guess, Brett, you're like building a proposal almost from scratch, or you have a template. Like you can automate a lot of that process.
And that's what we're doing in the back end now. We've got all that going on right now. So
I mean, people even ask me
I used to be scrap paper and cardboard. Then I went to Excel. Then I was building them all myself. Now it's like, I don't even, someone's like, hey, can you help me with the contract? I'm like, oh, how do I do that again? So it's completely way beyond me now. So it's kind of amazing to see that change. So bear with it and do the back end work.
When I told him that we were going to move to Excel, it about ended us. Wow. I can't have any more tear pieces of cardboard on my desk. I can't tell people what's going on.
Right. So you have that.
Your notes are all on that sleeve of cardboard.
Right. Or that random piece of paper floating around the work truck or the office. Did you get that? I left it on my desk somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So it is worth it. It will organize you and it'll help. And not that as our show, but as Josh is saying, preparing yourself for what you want.
Yeah.
Then you're like, hey, I've done this work. Now it's ready for me to pass to the next person. And it makes that process a little easier. It kind of does.
And nobody does it like you do. You just have to let them flounder for a little bit. And then you're like, okay, I'm okay with the way they're doing it. I'm going to put my energy somewhere else.
Okay. Yep. And that's the hard part is letting that part,
Yeah, but he's not going to do it like you. But if he if his close rate's enough, does it matter if it's the Brett way?
Nope. Not at all.
Yeah. And Kevin, to your point, this is not my show either. You guys hear from me constantly. I think it's good to hear from other contractors besides just myself. So I love it when you jump on and help. I think it's very helpful.
So
anybody else have thoughts or comments on that?
Super quick before we move on to the next question. And yeah, the idea of people learning from each other is super powerful. Few things. If you love Excel and it's really helpful, we have a guy who's like, we hire him from, I think he's from the Philippines. He's incredible. We have someone else coming on. He's super. We pay him like something. It's tremendously inexpensive, but it's huge
like
for what he earns.
$20 for a really complicated Excel sheet, and he runs everything on it. Runs scripts. It's incredible.
It's incredible. So again,
okay,
we're happy.
I could do the work. I'm sophisticated enough in Excel. But what would take me 2 days to put together, he puts together in a half a day.
Oh my
gosh. It costs $20.
He's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay. I'll email you later.
Yeah, how do you explain it to him, Josh? Like exactly what you want?
So what I do is I essentially make like a mock-up of what I want, right? So it's just like titles, and I'll say I want these 3 things. I want it color coded with the red and green if it's below or above goal. I want these things to be filled out manually. All of the rest once I want to be auto calculated, and I'll just do the math and like say this one minus this one, whatever. Some I won't even explain. And I create a sheet for him, just kind of like, here's what I want it to look like. And then I make a video and explain the thought process behind it. And I just let him go. In general, there's generally probably 1 revision each time, but it's fairly minor. And he gets it. He knows how I think, and it'll take maybe a couple times for him to understand how you think. But his ability to create, this is like beyond my capability, some of the stuff he does. But we just switched over our budget sheets to a budget and cost per lead sheet, which now everybody has access to. And like when you add something to the budget, it automatically adds columns and rows to like 4 or 5 other sheets. So it's like, I didn't even know how to do that, right? I'm like, I just explained, like, it'd be really cool if I could do this. So when I updated the budget, everything was automatically updated. And then he just got it back to me like a day and a half later.
So Josh said he made a video. I don't know, do all of you guys know this, but it's called Loom, Loom.
Yeah, we harp on that a lot.
Oh yeah, I don't know, has everybody heard about it? If you have and you haven't downloaded it, do. If you can literally, it just records your screen, and then you generate a link, and you can send that to whoever.
Yeah. As soon as you press stop, it comes up and pops up a link on your screen. You press copy link, and then you just paste in an email, text message, or whatever.
Do you have a Clover favorite resources on the Facebook page?
That's such a smart idea. No, we don't.
All these favorite things.
That's such a smart idea. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Down, Laura.
Hey,
yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question? Backing up a little bit on the Excel. When you do your presentations or you're building all your price sheets, like I'm building everything in our software, right?
Right.
It sounds like you guys use more of an Excel platform, and then you manually enter it in front of the customer. Is that correct? Or do you build it in Excel and then transfer that to your software?
So everything we built, which took me a very long time to make it happen because I'm like a stick in the mud. I was building everyone custom. I was like, oh, you needed 4 pieces of strap, not 6. Okay. It doesn't work that way. You have to go like the average is this, and this is what we typically, this is what we did. I'm not sure it's the only way to do it. This is the average. This is what we use for upflow, for horizontal. And so we just put numbers together essentially. So just say like one duct run is $350. That's it. It's the strap. That's it's all in. We maybe one's $360, the next one's $340, right? So it evens out. And so that number's put into our system, which is Service Fusion. And then when they click on it, you can just up that number 5, 6, 7, however many duct runs, and it automatically calculates it in.
So I use Excel to create the numbers for the price book.
That's what I was getting, because that's what I'm doing. I'm like, I feel like I'm doing double the amount of work, but I use
Excel. Yeah. So I put in the overhead and the profit margin and taxes and all of that jazz and commission and finance rates, right? I put all of that into my Excel spreadsheet to pop out the number that I give to the techs. So my techs and my sales team, they don't know that process, how we got to that number. They just know this system costs this much for me to sell, and I can go up or down 10%.
Okay. That's
the only
like,
thing I would say to that is make sure you overestimate slightly,
Right.
just to cover yourself.
Mhm.
And I personally, so Stephanie, when they give a price, and let's say that's $1,000 price, they're allowed to go above that $1,000 price.
It depends on, because we do customize the application. It's like
Okay.
the attic is really tight, so they may go up on the attic, or there's a particular run, or we're doing something a little bit funky. Yes. Or maybe they've given crazy finance options that we don't generally give, then they build that in.
okay.
But we see it all. So they put the price in, and then we have an area, it's our specifications. That's where they would make changes. And so we can see the changes and we can decide how that works.
Right.
Awesome.
So let's say, and we have levels like 1, 2, and 3 for duck runs, right? Like 1 is relatively easy, 2 is medium, 3 is really hard, right? Like it's going to take extra time. So we've adjusted our pricing, which is time, for those levels. So you could select that. And again, we have an option, just like this is going to be even more in the pain for whatever reason. You know, there's an extra you can add in there, differences. So, I mean, we did run a bunch of scenarios where it was like, okay, my name's Kevin. Kevin, build this,
Yeah.
price estimate, and then Stephanie would build it in the thing. So we have the same information, and basically we come out about the same.
$7 different or
Yeah,
something.
like, I mean,
Yeah.
minor, like
Go
nothing.
buy yourself a coffee and we'll eat it, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
But also, I had to get out of my own way. And so did Kevin. We both wanted it to be perfect, but done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
80% is 100%.
So we got it done, and then we make changes. I'm constantly adding new things to the service book, or I'm constantly changing it. You know, we'll do an update with the price changes at the beginning of the year.
Right.
But getting it in there is the big first step.
Right. Okay. Very good.
So I
Thank you.
want to make one comment real quick. Stephanie, Kevin, number one, we've not been working together. What was it, January?
February,
Something
yeah.
like that?
Yeah, February.
You had none of that shit in place. None of it. None of it. And now you're like re-quoting some of the things I say like back to me right now. Like, I love this. It's great.
That done is
Good
better
job,
than
guys.
perfect.
Honestly, what an impressive growth year for you guys personally. I know business wise too, but like, you know, that's I mean it's good. It's good to hear that you guys are taking it seriously and really making real progress.
We'll have another one of our members come on here. His name's Adrian, and he'll make you feel like as progressive as you guys are, and you really are impressive. Wait till you see this guy, and he'll make.
Why are you beating him up? That's not cool.
Oh, this guy is like, I've never seen anyone execute as quick as he has. Like, it's like he's like to what Pete likes to put in his body. It's like he's on 10 monsters all the time. He's like ready to rock and roll, and we can't even keep up with him. But it's awesome. We're just keep loading him up. It's so cool to watch. I don't know what the heck he does, so we're going to get him on a jam session and figure out how he can implement so quick.
Nice.
Something super quick. Brett, you mentioned showing somebody how to do something, and then and it triggered this thought. Anytime you have to train anybody on anything, create a video and store it in like an SOP folder, and train your staff to refer to this SOP folder, so you don't have to keep repeating yourself and showing the same thing over and over. And again, if that's something on your screen, use Loom. If it's not, just shoot it on your phone. But just it's just if you know you're going to do something more than once, like make it evergreen.
And I'll look at that Loom software. I got that noted here to look at too.
We can actually, you know what? You can also do it in Google on your pictures and everything. Create the video. It'll save automatically on that drive.
Super.
And then the same thing, create a link and then just either email it or save it somewhere, and they're able to click it.
There's lots of softwares you can use for that. We use Loom because it's free and it's incredibly easy to use.
We like that word.
Yeah. We all like it.
But yeah, I would suggest, like, we've done stuff where you make videos in Google, whatever. Like, Loom is a times better experience and 100 times easier to use.
Yeah.
So I have another quick question, because this is the first time that Brett also joined the meeting, you know, so as a couple, we're actually together. So welcome.
Welcome, Brett.
For those of you that are working as spouses together, what would be your main advice on being able to separate like the responsibilities of like, okay, this is what needs to be done business wise, and not so much, it's not the husband and wife nagging to each other. It's like, this is what needs to be done. Let's stay focused.
We got a lot of couples on here, really. I mean, me, Laura, Stephanie, Kevin, you guys. I would call Doug and Pete a couple in a week.
We were just joking about that.
Awesome, Josh.
We've been together
Awesome.
20 years.
Right.
Oh,
Rosenberg.
Congratulations.
Michael is like, it works directly with his parents, which obviously causes problems. What we're really talking about is, what's it like working with relationship and family?
Right.
Husband and wife is a little bit more difficult, maybe. Depends on your family, I guess. But how you keep it separated? I mean, I'll give my answer, but I mean, to be honest, we're not amazing at it.
Right.
I don't know if anyone is. Stephanie,
it's nice to hear that everybody's going through the same thing sometimes.
Well, I mean, I think the best thing to do is, and we talk about all the time, is try to remember your strengths and your significant other strengths, whether it's your husband and wife or just a business partner or family. Like remembering what each other's strengths are. Like I came from the field. She's I don't want to call her an office person, but she comes from like corporate world, knowing that stuff. So, if there's a field issue, that's more something I can help remedy. If it has to do with office and things like that, that's more her realm, building things. So kind of separating those two programs. Okay. Now, sometimes we have to mesh because there is like, hey, Brett, we're going to build this program, for our estimator to work off of. I need that one's help to make it happen. And she needs my help to make it happen. So there is sometimes a little bit of headbutting because we don't make sense of the same thing, but we do have to remember each other's strengths and everything.
And I think what makes it easier is goal setting and having that conversation about goals. And then are the actions that we're doing actually getting us to where we want to be? Mm-hmm. Right. And being able to decide, me really investing this time here makes more sense for the business. I need your help in the home life. Right. Or we hire people that, to make all of that work. So we do have a balance. So
for us, it's, I mean, I agree with all of that. And Laura, I'll have you hop on right after me, but to us, it's a few things. Number one, we communicate really, really constantly, basically. Communication is so important in any relationship, but it's more complicated, right? So there will be times, sometimes I feel a little bit like a coach or a mentor to Laura, which is not necessarily like a healthy place to be, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's the other way, but most of the time it's her pestering me with questions, and we create a process like this. Hey, this is like husband-wife time. Like it's 10 o'clock at night. I don't want to hear about what emails I should be sending tomorrow.
And we say that to each other too. Like, hey, you know what? I know you have to have that cut off, and you have to say enough's enough. Don't talk about business till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Take it away.
And it's to me, it's really more than anything else. It's about clearly defining your roles in the business. Who's in charge of what? And ultimately, like someone has to be in charge of something. If you're both in charge of something, you're going to have problems. Right. So who owns this section of the business and who gets to overrule the other? And that's the truth. Like when we first started, Laura first started in this business, it was more or less like, hey, if I disagree with you, we could have a conversation about it, but I get to make the decisions. Right. And now it's much more, there's sections of the business that she owns and there's sections of business I own. I very, very, very rarely tell her, we're not going to do that. It's almost always like, even if I don't like the idea, I'll say, well, let's test it. Let's find out. It's your position. You're just going to have to prove that it makes sense.
Right.
Laura?
So yeah, something that he alluded to, and I've a challenge with switching off. I just tend not to. And clearly that can for sure become annoying. I get it. So how I've overcome that whole dynamic of kind of having a healthy balance between husband and wife is, I used to have an idea and I'd want to have an answer like right now. And Josh would be like, oh, are you serious? Firstly, I could be in the middle of something. Secondly, he might just want to be winding down. Or he's just barely awake, you know? And so I was like, there's got to be a better way, because it was
ask me questions like when I'm in the shower first thing in the morning. She's like, I got this idea. I'm like, my eyes aren't open yet.
Yeah,
right.
Seriously. So I for sure started to empathize, and I was like, okay, I can do this better. So now what I do, which really helps, is I have big proponents of Trello, and I can give a whole spiel on that another day. But I file in a meeting board things I need to talk to Josh about. And then every morning we have a 30-minute meeting. We don't always need the 30 minutes. And it's then I ask him those questions, because typically they can wait. At the time, I'm like, now, but they can wait. So that's when I ask those questions. So he's not completely badgered. And it's been so that 30-minute meeting, super important, so you're on the same page. And secondly, I found it incredibly helpful, so you can have that husband-wife balance of allocating a time to ask those questions or to have those difficult conversations. So the rest of the time can just be conducive. You're either enjoying your relationship or you're enjoying your actual work.
I like that. Yeah.
So that's been super powerful for us.
Yeah, that's actually a really big one. It's helped us a lot. I actually did that with client services. So, some people I consult with more regularly, and it's some people I have trouble getting me to use often enough, Doug. But some people pestered me like crazy. It was like every day I would get like 5 or 6 phone calls. I was like, it cuts my interruption. Like, it was frustrating. So a big part of my success when we switched it was, I'll spend an hour with you a week, right? But this is the dedicated hour, unless it's urgent. It waits till that hour. So I could really super focus on you. And I could be prepared, and you could have everything ready. You could have everything you want to talk about ready. I could have everything I want to talk about ready. And by creating a time where they were allowed to vent or go nuts on me, it helped me be more consistent and less stressed about it, because I didn't have to answer their phone call right when I was in the middle of something else because they needed something urgent that wasn't even remotely urgent.
That can so again, that can apply to managers. If you have somebody or employees that consistently pester you and they interrupt your flow or whatever you're working on, allotting that time and then writing down their questions for that period of time is going to really help productivity and probably a conducive relationship, which we've just figured out.
Right.
An even more conducive relationship.
And I like that. I think we could take that on, like, because a lot of my employees will call me 15, 16, 18 times a day.
More than that.
Right? And some of it's stupid. Well, I shouldn't say stupid. I shouldn't say stupid, but it's questions that, you're right, if you delegated a time frame for each office staff, your management staff or whatever, and say, look, save all your questions. I'll answer them all in, half-hour session throughout the day, whatever. I think I might try to take on something like that, because you not believe the questions I get. And I'm like, did you even think, or did you do any?
Well, that's your fault for answering.
Right.
Right. Like, don't answer them. Like,
everything's a firestorm.
Go figure this out.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna work on that myself.
Well, this has been Brett and Linda. I'm gonna cut you off on questions. Does anybody else have a quick question, and then we'll get into the budgeting plan?
Cool. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, that was great.
It spurred off such good questions and stuff, for sure.
Josh, I can just add real quick. Our dynamic's different. We have a mother, father, and son situation here, and we set aside once a week. On Thursdays for a couple hours, we set aside time away from the office to talk about things, and we all have our own job duties, what we do here. So during the week, we do our thing, and then we set aside a couple hours a week, and I think that really helps. But we don't live together like spouses do, so we're not talking business all the time with each other. I think it'd be a different dynamic if my parents do. I don't know how they've done it. They've been doing it for 40 years. and they're still married. So somehow they made it work. My wife does something totally different than I do, so we don't talk. We talk a little bit, about what we do, but it's like 5 minutes, and then it's about kids. So,
I think any relationship can work if you choose to work on it.
Yeah, I agree.
True.
Anybody else have any other questions, topics before we go into what I want to talk about today? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Or if you feel uncomfortable with sharing, that's totally fine. Pop it privately to me in the chat, and we can take it offline.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to go into it. So I think this is really relevant because this time of year, and I know a lot of people struggle with this, and I really want to talk about planning and budgeting for next year. And I've seen a lot of people do it really significantly different ways. So anybody, like I could see quite a few of you. Is anybody already started the planning process? I'm hoping yes. Yes. Shake your head, yes or no. Of the planning process, how many of you are almost done? No one. Okay, that's fine. No. So I wouldn't expect to be done right now, but I would expect to be done here fairly shortly, and I'll explain why. But I want to kind of go into the thought process of how I like to budget and plan for next year. It's not what everyone does. It's far less sophisticated than what most people do, but it's less sophisticated for a reason, because when I make it less sophisticated, I can actually make it happen. Hey, Jim.
Hey, guys.
So the first thing I'm going to do is, like, a lot of people will start going through numbers, and they have this incredibly sophisticated spreadsheet, or they go through this 3-day process of how to picking your budget. And it is important to spend the time and effort on it. But you could really overcomplicate it. I know people was like, well, if we just got our average ticket up $10 and we just did this, we just turned over 2 more leads and we got 10% more calls, and we had another salesperson that closed at 10% more, we could do this, and we'll end up with this. I've literally had a client, and this is not an exaggeration. When I first started working with them, they were $8 million, and they went to a 2-day workshop, and they decided next year they were going to do 17 million. And that was a realistic number. And it's like, okay, explain this to me. And it was like, ideal situation. Like, if we do everything perfect, yeah, we could get to 17 million. But that's obviously not realistic, right? I'm actually a very big fan of being not only simple, but creating a culture of winning. I think your goals should be attainable goals. I think it's demoralizing for your goal to be 17 million. And I talked him down that year. We talked him into switching it to 11. And we ended up hitting 11. We went from 8 to 11. But, they did just over 11. And if they did 11, let's say they got to 12 somehow by some miracle, right? To be 5 million short of goal would be devastating to the team. They're not motivated. They're not driven. Odds are they don't even get to that 11. Does that make sense? Give me a head shake. Yes. So I think it's really important that you simplify your planning process and you really make sure you don't overreach. Overreaching is one of the biggest mistakes that companies make, because when you overreach, you demoralize your team. And I create spiff structured bonus structures based off of hitting goals. And when you do it well, they hit the goal almost every month, if not every month. And when you hit the goal every month, you create a culture of excitement, a culture of winning. And as weird as this sounds, they start depending on that bonus. It's no longer an extra. It's a requirement for their daily life. And when they're required for it, no matter what the size is, all of a sudden they'll do more than they would if it's a nice to have. Does that make sense? So I have a very simple system for budgeting, and I'm gonna lay it out, and then I want everybody to kind of give me their thoughts afterwards. But basically, I decide, where are we at now? How much do we want to grow as a percentage? I try to keep the percentage fairly realistic, so I go between 20 to 30%, and I tend to lean more towards the lower 20s, so maybe 24, 25. I guess that's the mid 20s, 30%. And I'll set a stretch goal as well. and the stretch goal is going to be 30% or above. And I will bonus both of those goals, right? So if we hit those numbers every month, I will bonus for that 24, and I will bonus way more for that 30% because that means they came out of their shoes to make that happen. So I come up with a total number. So let's say for easy math, we did 10 million, and this year we want to do 12.5, and our stretch goals 13.5. So that'd be 35%, which would be crazy growth, unbelievable growth. And then what I have to do is I start looking back, and I have to divide them up month by month. You guys are all used to this. You know what percentage of your business basically comes in every month, so you know what's realistic, right? So I'm going to come together, and if I need to do 12.5 million, I know I can't do, 2.5 million in October in Phoenix. It's not going to happen. So I'm going to look at the year, the 2 years prior, and figure out at what percentage of our overall number do we hit at each month. And I'm going to kind of come up with a number in my head. I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to do it by department as well, because I want to set department goals as well. So now I have a general number, and I think it's a really important part of the process. Before I finalize that number, like TJ has been part of this. I don't know who else has been part of this. I think TJ is the only one where we sat down and did this. But I'm going to sit down with those managers of those departments, and I'm going to get their buy-in on every single month. So I'm going to have them kind of say, hey, our goal is 25%. Last year we did $1 million this month. What do you think we could do? And I have the number in my head, right? I know this month we kind of underperformed. This year, the year before, we did better. So I think we could do 1.3, 1.35. I'm going to negotiate with them and go through the whole process, making sure at the end of it, when it's all added up, I'm setting those goals properly at the proper percentage. Does that make sense? Everybody following? TJ, I know you're on. TJ and Ken, you guys have been through this process. Does that sound pretty accurate?
That's pretty accurate. So we've also taken, what we used to do before. We take the average for the last 3 years of service. And then, you look at the month, every month for the DPR over the last couple of years, you take the average, and then, you want to incorporate what our number was always 15% growth per year over year. You want to incorporate that and kind of, judge by month. Chicago weather's very unpredictable over here. So, some Septembers we hit $1 million in sales, and some Septembers we have 500,000 in sales. It depends on the weather over here. So, you take those numbers and kind of average and see where you're at. And then throughout you want to grow 15% that year. You see, okay, we had a good October. We can increase, by X amount of dollars, and then add all that towards your total of a 15% year over year growth.
Yeah.
Josh, let's say that you don't come from a culture of bonusing and spiffing. Where do you fit that into your budget? Are you going to talk about building that part?
So on how to put a bonus and spiff like a bonus culture into your business, you're saying?
Not so much culture, but into your budget, where you break it up and you're expecting to pay that out, because the employee is expecting it now as part of their compensation, and you expect it as part of your cost. Sometimes it's hard to get people to part with their money and do spiffs and bonuses, but it's all about investing, for that growth. So I feel like if we set aside a particular amount and a pot, and I'm just pulling from that an agreed upon amount from us for that spiff program, 100%. It's going to be easier.
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. That's for bonuses. Spiffs are different because they're selling something directly. So it's a direct cost compared to a direct sale. Spiff is incredibly easy to do. You just put it basically into your price. But bonuses, that's exactly what you do. You come up with a percentage of increase in sales, like what that increase in sales is, how much money you would make off that. A percentage of that goes into a bonus structure to make sure that you hit that. Does that make sense?
Do you have the numbers for a healthy-ish budget idea? Like how much goes into marketing, how much goes into bonusing, how much goes into payroll, how much goes into cost?
I do. Laura, can you send over like our general P&L, what everyone should be at? In general, I suggest people, now it depends what you want to do, but if you're in growth mode, like 7% on marketing, you want to spend about 0.5% on bonuses. Laura will send that, and you
we
can
have
just
a
take
whole
look at it,
spiff
make a
sheet.
decision.
And again,
Yeah.
you guys can choose what spiff makes sense for you or what you feel most comfortable with. But these are spiffs that we found have been used in companies that tend to be growing pretty aggressively.
Yeah, and it's like the key is like you don't have to pay as much as you think you do to motivate them, but you have to pay enough where they care about it. So sometimes that's $100. Sometimes that's for the right person. That's $500. And on that stretch, that could be $1,000. But the cool part about bonus is you only pay it when you've made a lot more money. So there's no risk to it, right? You can't go crazy with it. But there's really no risk to it. And if you wanted to have a conversation, we could probably break it down further. But that's like down the rabbit hole kind of concept. Because it depends on your size and what your management team looks like and everything, right? It's going to be different for really every company on here. Anyway, so now I have a revenue goal for every month. By the way, is this more or less how people do it, or do they get more complicated than this?
No, I did have a question to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
When you're setting up your budgets for the year, does it matter if you're flat rated on everything or if you're hourly plus spiff and bonus and all that? Or
no, it doesn't matter. These are revenue goals.
Okay.
It's not relative how we pay them.
Okay.
Affects your profit, affects what you do, but not your revenue.
Okay.
So anyway,
Josh, I had a quick question about the bonuses. So what about if like you have like monthly goals that you set and you have things in place and you roll them from month to month? Each month you have a new goal and everything. What if you don't hit your goals for this month, but we have yearly goals that we're trying to hit also. So if we don't hit it this month, it could be because of seasonality. And so next month might be bigger than it would normally be. What would we do if we don't hit those goals this month for goals that next month? Would we adjust our goals for next month? How would we do that?
Can you adjust the goals for next month? It's entirely possible. I would make the argument that I wouldn't adjust the goals. I would just try to outperform the goals, because this is something I essentially agree with the managers beforehand, and they agree with the team, and we're all on the same page. We're driving to the same one. And if you miss a goal in a month, that sucks. They don't get paid. You're less than the revenue that you need. But in general, like, you will find a way to make that up, because you're talking both about the monthly. I bonus off monthly. So they missed that one. And if they hit the stretch, the next one, they get a little bit more money, whatever, right? But I can't chase the money. I have to just do the best quality work I could do, get the most leads, pull the levers. I never want to not hit a goal. But in the rare situations I don't hit a goal, I can't like add another, $500,000 to October. It's unrealistic.
Right.
And so, like, chasing that and making that goal now difficult, or difficult's okay, but impossible to hit, destroys that winning culture, and that winning culture is far more important.
Josh, if I can add to that, and my past experience is that if you also break down your yearly goal into the quarters, you might not reach your full quarter income that you budget for, but you can always add an additional promo and say upsell certain products to try to reach it on a quarterly basis as well. That usually helps a little bit as well.
Yeah. I don't generally like to do quarterly, or like, we're certainly going to talk about the annual number. But the team drives off the monthly number, because anything that's 90 days long is just too long for them to stay focused.
How often are you having meetings where you're talking about it, Josh?
Oh, I mean, everybody in the whole team knows exactly what the goal for the month is. We do a DP report where it's done every single day, and every single manager at the very least sees it. I'm a fan of every single team member. So in a way, we're talking about almost daily.
I think I've said this to you guys before. I'm not sure. So I'm getting coached by Paul because I want to know as much as Josh knows, and I know he's got a few years on me. And I ask him, what is the what is one of the most biggest things that's contributed to his success the most? And he said, watching the numbers. He watches them like 3 to 4 times a day. And he said
that's for the install board specifically. We have a digital install board.
Correct. And he said to me, but this is just a general concept and quote that I think you can take to every report is, the closer you are to the numbers, the greater influence you can have upon them.
Yeah. And we've talked about this too. I think like it's, a lot of companies, good or bad. I think it's bad. But they don't really check their numbers until everything's done. And then it's too late to change it. It's like playing a basketball game and not keeping score. I feel like I'm up, but we'll tally at the end and see where we're at. That's not a good way to win a basketball game, right? Because you make adjustments, you do things differently when you're behind. Common sense, but people do it all the time in business. Anyway, let's go back to the system real quick. So now we have these monthly revenue goals, and that's kind of where most people really stop. But you're missing the point a little bit, right? Those monthly revenue goals are a big piece of it. But I really need to break down the call volume I need to receive to get those goals. And there's 2 reasons why. I'll explain why. But I need to find out how many calls I need to do to end up hitting that goal, because a lot of people don't really think about the back end. They send or set up a revenue goal, but don't have the support to actually hit it. So what I'm going to do is pretty simple. I'm going to take my blended average ticket, divide that by the number of, the revenue goal for each month, for each department, mind you, and I'm going to figure out how many calls I need in that department, right? The reason I'm doing that is because I need to know how many calls I need to generate from the marketing side, and I need to know how many people I need to have in that department for the month, right? So many people, they'll set a goal of 25%, but they only increase their tech base by 5%. That makes it awfully difficult. You can't run the calls, right? So you take the call volume, right? Now we know how many call volumes. You take your average cost per lead, you do some math, and you could flub it a little bit, right? But now we know how much marketing budget we need to spend. We could always be better, but if we didn't get any better whatsoever, we know what kind of marketing budget would take to get those calls. And I'm going to take the average number of calls my techs run, which everybody here, I think, is going to be 4 to 5 range. Installs, obviously, it's 1 install crew, maybe 2 per day, right? Salesperson is doing 4 to 5 calls a day. And you start breaking down the call volume, right? And you have to make sure you're staffed properly, especially on the field side, but also on the support side. How many calls can one of my CSRs take? Does this make sense? I see you grinning, Stephanie.
Yeah, because we were just having this conversation yesterday about trying to get down to the 5 average calls a day, because we will run 8 to 10.
Yeah, no, we've had this conversation.
I know, and our guys just aren't effective in the ways that they need to. So it's changing that, and it's also, there's a lot of coaching that goes into everything that should happen in that call, and how they create value and what they should be doing. And so that's what we're working on this year.
Yeah, I mean, you could steal.
But it doesn't make sense to this guy that you can make more money in 5 calls than you can in 8 calls.
Of course it does. He's just stubborn.
We're losing revenue. We're not getting as many VIPs. I mean, it's starting to make sense. It really is. So
it took 10 years.
So you could steal our anatomy of a perfect service call, and I would suggest doing that. Laura, send it to him. And that will give you how we define a perfect service call, exactly how it works, step by step. You just need to tweak it, make it your own. That would be a starting point. That's the training point. And we have all kinds of stuff on how to train them and all that stuff too. But yeah, if you're running 8 calls, you're leaving so much money on the table. It's better to have another tech. Right.
Quick point there, guys. Just so you know, all these like anatomy of a perfect sales call, everything we send you, plus the weekly knowledge bombs, plus anything that you get, you only get because you're members. I just want you guys to know. Want you guys to know that, like everything that you're going to get.
Please don't share that with random people either.
Yeah, because again, you guys pay for it and we value that. I'll also, Stephanie, that whole tool thing, we're not going to put it on our page. I'm going to send it privately. There's perks of being a member, and we want to honor that.
Yeah.
The page isn't just members.
It's going to be for just members.
But the Facebook page isn't just members.
The Facebook page is just members. That's why we're trying to encourage all our members we had before I ever made that Facebook group. And I need to push people into it because there's not that many people in it. So whoever's on this call and are not in it, I'll link it in the email, because that's the community that you can have this kind of coaching the whole month long.
I do have to say, somebody jumped on there and talked about marketing and their budget and how they're splitting it apart. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. We're so far from having that type of conversation about $100,000 going to radio or TV, but it really lit a fire. And so just seeing other people's fires helps.
Awesome. Yeah. So you know what you need to do now, Stephanie? You need to beat Josh Kelly around the head and tell him to go in there more often, because I'm tired of telling him
she
to.
pesters me like every day. It's like,
that's a wife's job, the beating over the head part.
Okay.
Well, I hired help.
Let me tell you, Josh, there is value. And when I see it on the fly, it helps fuel that fire.
Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate that. That's good feedback. And we hired Tracy just to beat up on me. So she's going to be the one driving me to create content every day for that.
I don't know what he's getting in for. 2 McCarthy's.
Right.
It's too much. It's too many.
But yeah.
Better order extra vino.
Tracy, you're muted if you're trying to say something.
I said, as sister-in-law, I might get permission to beat you across the head, but we'll wait and see.
So anyway, that's the main budgeting I'm trying to come up with, and it's the basis for everything, is how much revenue per department do I have to do every month? And I explain how to do that. How many calls I need to hit that revenue. And then when you have the calls, how much do I need to spend to get those calls, and how many people? So many people don't budget for people. Like, everybody knows they need more techs, and it comes April and it's like, crap, we need to hire 10 techs. Like, no, you were supposed to hire 5 in March, 4 in February, and 2 in January, knowing that some of them fall out, right? If you need 10 people, you don't hire 10 people, you hire 14, and you get the pick of the litter. Or they choose for you sometimes, right? Both are okay. But you have to plan all this out and make sure we assign somebody the responsibility of doing that for each department. Make sure they're spending the time, money, and effort to make it successful. We've had deep conversations about that. We have all kinds of content on that. We're actually launching like a deep dive recruiting course here in the next week or two.
For a future call too, I'd like to talk about some of that growth cost, like vehicles and what you do with that. And
you can't hire people unless you have vehicles, right? That has to be in the budget. These are all tied together.
That's actually a question for you guys too. Yeah, we just built a recruiting course, and we are going to give it to our members at like a crazy reduced cost. So if just at a general standpoint, if you're interested in it, it would be awesome to get that feedback so we can make sure that you guys get taken care of.
Yeah, it's like a 7-day. It's not day. I guess 7-module deep dive recruiting course.
Could just sit down and bang it out in a day.
It's like 3 hours worth of video.
But then when you do sit down and bang out any course, make sure that you allocate it and delegate to any member or team member that could be associated with rolling that out. Otherwise, it's just information in your head,
Yeah. What did Alan O'Neill say yesterday? I really liked it. I don't remember. It was like
it's like an empty bucket.
Information without implementation is just education.
Yeah,
I thought it was cute. Plus, he has an Irish accent. You can't argue with that. No.
He's actually, that's another jam session coming pretty soon. He's awesome.
Yeah, is he
Irish accents? Is that the jam session?
Yeah,
it's all about Irish.
How
accents.
to have an Irish accent. Seven steps to mastering an Irish accent.
Yeah. It's what's your story, girl? Yeah.
No, okay. Josh tries to do it. He hasn't got it quite down yet.
I'm terrible.
Not yet.
He tries. He does nowhere near close.
Maybe we'll all work on our Irish accents.
There you go. Then you'll have even more brownie points in my book, Brett.
Nice. I love it.
So let me go off topic a little bit. But the budgeting, does that make sense to everyone? Anyone, any thoughts, questions, things you think I'm missing, things you love to do?
So
you
have monthly revenue goals and call volume goals. And those call volume goals help you with people. Are those really the two big?
And the marketing. How much I need to spend on marketing to hit that.
At this point, are you just talking about marketing spend, or are you planning out your entire year of what your marketing is?
So yes, I'm planning my marketing spend. I'm really trying to plan my entire marketing year for the most part. Marketing plans are fluid because you should be tracking everything every month and you should be making adjustments. But I have my initial plan up front. I also have, like, if we're being real crazy on the planning, right? I plan for the entire year what a promotion is going to be for each month, what training I'm going to be doing, what systems we're doing, what incentives are going to be associated with that training and that accessory, and then what offers the customers can be tied with it. And it's a loose plan. It doesn't have to be perfect, but being proactive like that just makes your business so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
When we talk about levers and stuff like that, I just finally wrote up content on levers and how to use them. This business becomes so much better, like not 10 times better, but like 100 times better when you have predictable results and you have a plan going ahead of time where you're rarely having to scramble to find answers to figure stuff out. That was a serious vibration.
Yeah. My bad. I should have muted.
You're good. Any other questions besides that? So everybody's good on how to budget next year, and this is going to be done by the 15th. Everybody's going to send it to be super excited, and we're going to
the emails will come flying in once we start diving into it more.
Okay.
How's that sound?
To put it on the Facebook group so we can all
go.
In.
That's even better.
If you don't want to share numbers, that's fine. Send it to me personally, but questions and stuff, put it on the Facebook group.
That means I'll have to get back into Facebook then.
There you go.
I only use Facebook for you guys, so it's all relative.
Okay.
Barely.
Even against his will. Barely. I love it. Thank you, Stephanie.
Oh, harsh. This is harsh.
Josh, maybe you and Brett can encourage each other to post every once in a while. I have the same thing.
It's like I'm catching up with what Josh knows, but sometimes I'm like, I want to give you guys the best and most accurate information. So I tag him. And then honestly, I'm on his tail trying to be like, go in. But he's got lots of other things on his plate. But Josh,
but you know what?
Up on the priority list.
That's part of partnership and knowing where strengths are. I logged into Kevin's Facebook 8 years ago when we got married so I could make Marcus married. I don't think he's been in there since.
No, my wife, my wife does all my Facebook posts.
Yeah, he doesn't do any of that. So it's my job then to say, hey, I saw this really cool thing on Facebook, and we communicate about it. And he may talk to me about it and jump in. But Linda, you can't make him drink. You can just push him to the water,
Right. My main thing is like, I do maintain my Facebook, like on the marketing side of it, but sometimes it is nice because he's out in the field a little bit more. So it's nice to actually put like a little mini video or pictures of what we actually do out there.
He texts those to me.
But yeah.
Kevin will text them.
That's to be clear, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing, Stephanie. I'm just going to be sending them to Tracy.
Yeah.
This is Tracy's problem.
Sending what to Tracy?
The content.
Gotcha. I was like, you can't have Tracy post in the Facebook group on your behalf. Anyway, the conversation's offline.
I'll post on the Facebook group, but like everything else. So just, this is off topic, but I think it's helpful. Like a lot of people try to make content like on the fly, and you can do that really effectively. If you really are paying attention, you're really into it. I'm not, and I'm aware of that. I'm not really a social media guy at all. However, I know the importance of it to business. So we batch things, meaning like she locks me in a room for a day or a half a day, and we're just making videos all day. And we write out everything. I find batching is so much easier if you're not in social media or in content.
You know what? That'd be interesting to do because like I'll create videos out in the field sometimes. And then I play them back, and it sounds like I'm stoned. So I'm like, I don't want that going on the website.
Well, are you stoned?
Well, no.
Okay.
No.
I hope not.
Be hired a social media guy.
Yeah, like I don't know.
She plans our posts. We meet once a month, and she plans our 3 posts every week, and I approve them all, and she gets them done. And they're so much prettier. They're so much better put together because that's what she's good at. I'm not good at it. I'm an editor, and I can say that doesn't feel like my voice or that doesn't feel like the Airworks way. And so then we'll adapt, but somebody else is creating that content.
But how do you create that content if you have somebody doing that for you? Like say you're out on the field and you're, doing kind of a unique job and you want to show it off or showcase it or something. How do you have her edit that when, for me, like I'm the one talking, I'm the one showing what's going on and stuff like that. I bring that back to the office. And I'm like, gosh, it sounds so goofy. I don't want to post that.
Maybe you should mute it, just show the video and write the content about what you were trying to say.
Also, Brett, just know that everybody at the start when they're getting used to video hate the sound of their own voice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that goes away.
No, I don't think it does either. You just kind of have to accept it. If it's good content, that's enough.
Okay.
If it is, now Stephanie had such a good point about meeting with a social media manager. Again, I'll attach this as one of the tools when we get all that put together. There's a tool called Upwork, and you can hire contractors from across the world. What we found is we have a certain region that we work in, and they tend to be the most reasonable plus with most talent. You can get really reasonable and the talent is mediocre. So again, I can shoot that to you too. You can just hire someone to be your social media manager, work out what that strategy is, the cadence in which you want to post. Stephanie's 3 days, you might want 1, you might want 7. But again, you can decide and plan out that strategy, and she'll help you figure out a system that when you shoot a video, where to kind of save it, and then she'll just do the rest. And then you look on your website and your social media and you're like, oh geez, we look great. And you haven't done pretty much anything.
Brett, and if you're worried about making it look good, like just send it to someone who knows what they're doing and they'll figure that out for you.
Okay. All right.
Or hire your sister, Brett.
Yeah. Or hire Tracy.
Or get an Irish accent.
There you go.
All the above.
Look at the Irish.
Well, guys, I hope you guys learned a lot. Anytime you have feedback on how we can improve, send it our way. We're continually working on that on our front. But yeah, we appreciate you all, and I hope this was helpful.
I'm seeing your ads all over my Facebook. So
are you?
Yeah.
Good.
Your spend is going towards somebody that already pays for you. So.
Well, yeah, that shouldn't be happening. So thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, guys.
Well, I appreciate everybody's input.
Yeah. We appreciate you guys too, and always post in the Facebook group. And we'll get back to you within a day. Now that
I'm really looking forward to that like goals of the P&L, so that way we can start.
Yep.
I'll shoot that over.
Yep.
You'll get that today. The tools thing will come a little later, and you compile all that. But you'll get the anatomy of a perfect sales call today, and you'll get that Spiff P&L thing today too.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right, guys.
Awesome. Showing up. All the people who won't miss out.
Yeah. Nice meeting you guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
See y'all around.
Y'all later.